extremely nervous today, not wanting to speak to you, but regarding what is going on around the world and how there is so much negativity around climate change. And I was worried that you might have been persuaded in thinking the same, and therefore would have felt that it was a pointless exercise attending this afternoon session and to hear about the wonderful things that the partnership has been doing around sustainability and climate change. You look at what is happening in America at the moment and who has been elected to become the next president. Someone who doesn't believe in climate change at all, is in denial about the science behind climate change, and is keen to renege against the commitments that were made by over 200 countries around climate change in Paris. He also has highlighted that, and I quote unquote, that China has created this whole hoax around climate change to allow China to become much more dominant and, in some respects, becoming, allowing America to become less competitive. These are clearly worrying times. America is quite a distance away, but it does have quite a far reach. We then come closer to home, and we look at Brexit and the potential impact that may have on the things that we currently take for granted. Some of you may know that many of the environmental obligations that we perhaps now take for granted relating to how we treat our waste, how we deal with our water and the quality associated with the water that we take for granted from our taps, air quality, which I will come back to again a little later, and the permitting. This has all been derived and driven fundamentally through the EU. So post-Brexit, I wonder how the UK government is going to look at the existing legislation and whether it will take this as an opportunity to dilute some of the wonderful work that has been done in the past through the leadership of the EU. We look at climate change and renewable energy, intrinsically linked again with the EU. We all have a commitment, or signed up to a commitment, that we will see emissions reduced by 80% by 2050. Wonderful target, perhaps not ambitious enough by some accounts. And then we relate that to what we heard in the autumn statement around climate change and the environment, which was actually very, very little. And that should, in some respects, worry us. But what should worry us even more is when £1 billion has been put aside as a shale wealth fund to help those communities that have been most affected by fracking. I feel that we are at a tipping point with so much going on around the world that is coming in our way and preventing us from doing what we think is right for the planet. My thoughts are that the partnership will be celebrating its 10th anniversary in June next year. We have come through huge amounts of turbulence locally, where we've had significant change within the political system. We've seen political change at a national level, but the partnership is still here. And we have hundreds of people sat in front of me today, which is testament to the fact that more than ever, what we do is incredibly important. And as Gandhi once said, it's incredibly important that we be the change that you wish to see in the world. And it is a change that we see in the partnership that will ultimately resonate around the world. So whilst I start with such a negative introduction, I would like to say that the work that the partnership has done over the years has been quite incredible. The work that was done during 2015 in itself is testament to the fact that those stories are still resonating around the world. And they will continue to resonate around the world, and it will be because of the kinds of activities that you all have contributed towards. That is all I'm going to say. You can all go and slit your throats. Thank you very much indeed for attending this afternoon. My name is Mohammed Saddiq. I'm the recently elected chair of the partnership, and I'd like to say what a privilege it is to be in this particular role. I've been told that you must all tweet. Not quite sure exactly what that means, but I hope you will. And I think to encourage you to do that, you will all get a free glass of mulled wine at the end of the mingle. We don't have any fire alarms planned for this afternoon's session. On a positive note now, we have some wonderful events that we would like to share with you. The first session is going to be very much about things that we've been getting up to within the partnership. We'll then have a short break, and then in the second session we will talk a little bit about planning and crucially how we would like to see this city develop over the coming years, and having an opportunity to input into that. I have a long list of thank yous, and I'm pleased I have a list because I am getting old now, and my memory is not as good as it used to be, so I know when you do this kind of thing, it is a great risk of missing people out. So the first thing I'd like to do is thank all the people here at the station and the kitchen for being so helpful and accommodating, and in particular the volunteers, Asha and Aisha. Are they here in the audience? They are, they're at the back. Can we have a round of applause for Thank you so much for your help today. I'd also like to thank the people that have really provided some genuine thought leadership around keeping the partnership going, and those are really the strategic partners and the directors from the University of England, the University of Bristol, the City Council itself, Triodos Bank, the West of England Initiative, Resource Futures, the Centre for Sustainable Energy, Avon Wildlife Trust, and Sustrans. They have been quite remarkable in not only giving up huge amounts of their time to the partnership, but also making a financial contribution so we can ensure we've got the resources to actually make things happen. So a big thank you to them. There have also been a number of organisations that have offered significant in-kind support, and we're very grateful for that. And Smith and Williamson are one of the many organisations that have done that. And for all the individuals that helped and participated in the Healthy City Week, including the Bristol Health Partners, the Hub Host, Triodos Bank, Cocker Herbs, and Copper Consultancy. Without their support, that event would not have been anywhere near as successful as it was. And also, not forgetting the other 190 plus organisations that helped contribute to that event. And you'd be pleased to know I won't be listing all those 190 plus organisations, but I am equally grateful for all their support. I'd also like to thank the speakers who you will be listening to later on this afternoon, and crucially, to all the members who have supported us over the last 9 years and continue to do so. This is fundamentally a membership organisation, and if it was not for the members who are sat in front of me today and those that weren't able to make it, then this organisation would not exist at all. So I would like to thank you for all your support, and I'd like to ask that you all give yourselves a round of applause, after which I will introduce you to Ian, who I'm sure, our Chief Executive, who will tell you much more about the exciting and wonderful things that he has been up to over the last 6 months to a year. So thank you very much for listening. I'll hand you over now to Ian. And a great big round of applause.
Hi everybody, thank you for coming. Just want to say that it's not just me, it's me and my colleague Vicky and other freelance work we've had over the last 6 months and year that I'd like to thank for what we've been able to do. And it has been a really busy year. As you can see from the slide, there's some photos of the various events that we've held this year. Just thought I'd highlight 3 particular events. One was the mayoral hustings, which took place back in April. We had over 200 people in Yarmouth-Feeney. And then we had a lecture from Jonathan Porritt on the EU and the environment, certainly a hot topic more now than we might have thought at the time, where we had over 200 attendees up at University of West of England. And the third event was Andy Weir's lecture on integrative medicine, which was where we launched, where we announced that we were going to hold Healthy City Week 2016. We had 350 attendees there. So, also wanted to focus on Healthy City Week. It's probably the biggest thing we've done last year, back in October. It's becoming a bit of a Bristol institution. It's the second year, and we've reached more people with more events than we did in 2015 when we did this first during capital year. We had over 190 events. We had over 5,000 people attending or taking part in events online. We had almost 500,000 social media timelines that were reached, and also from our feedback, we found that over 60% of people were inspired to make a change in either their personal or their professional life after going to a Healthy City Week event. And over 70% said that it helped them to make new connections with individuals, communities, organisations or other sectors. Now, the partnership organised the programme, but its success was really down to members like you. And running grassroots and citywide events during the week, and our supporting partners. Look in the corner of all the logos. So thank you very much to all of those as well. In 2016, we really wanted to reach out further than we had in the previous year. So we had a community launch day in Barton Hill with a diverse audience, a very good turnout from the Somali community there, and a panel event including the mayor. And that was in partnership with Wellspring Health Centre in Barton Hill and also Bristol Community Health. But we also held events across the city. We had events in Avonmouth, in Easton, in Knoll, Lockleys and Southmead, as well as Barton Hill, but also in Broadmead and our city centre hub at Triodos Bank. And we're very much hoping we can do this all over again in 2017 if we can raise the funds we need. So do watch this space. So, someone to say something about our reach. So we have still over 800 members. This has grown from 12 back in 2007 when the first group of sustainability-minded organisations met together for the first time at the City Council. In addition to all the events that I've talked about already, we've reached well over 1.5 million social media timelines over the year. We've had over 36,000 visitors to our website. We've more than 2,000 social media followers as well. And we've had continuing international interest. We've had people accessing our website from over 100 countries of the world. And last month alone, I held meetings with delegations from India and from Denmark who were interested in the things that we were doing and the way the partnership works. So we have a real huge opportunity to profile successes in the city and to reach out to new audiences. So how do we plan to do this? So we have a very clear vision. Our vision is a sustainable Bristol with a high quality of life for all. And our aim is to collaborate inclusively across Bristol and the city region to realise the change we need to see to address the environmental sustainability challenges that we face, some of which Mohammed's already referred to. We're really determined to harness Bristol's enormous energy for positive change. It's a remarkable place with remarkable people, and to do that, we want to address sustainability challenges inclusively and accessibly. Just to note, for those who are good on the detail, we've moved away from a low-carbon Bristol. That's not to say that low carbon isn't extremely important. It absolutely is. But we just felt that there was some feedback that the phrase wasn't as accessible as it might be to some people. So how do we do this? We have 3 objectives. 3 objectives, including they are enabling, so all about supporting our members, supporting them through theme formats, which I'll come back to presently, building new relationships and existing ones, and providing shared services. We want to deliver, so we want to provide, to run high-impact, silo-busting projects that achieve a real change in the world. And finally, we want to lead. We want to be a strong voice for the sustainability community in Bristol. We want to have influence and strategic decisions that will make a difference for many decades to come. So I mentioned themes. We have 5 themes here: energy, food, nature, resources and transport. With a director leading, on the board for each of those. These 5 themes you may recognise are those that emerged for the European Green Capital Year as well. And we made a decision to take those on and take them forward in the future. So what have we done over the last year? In terms of transport, for example, we launched the Good Transport Plan with Sustrans and took part in a regional planning consultation exercise in this very room in early 2016. And we also have an active sustainable transport network. In food, we helped over 70 organisations take part in the Food Action Plan. And Bristol was awarded the Silver Award for Sustainable Food City. The only other city that has this in the UK is Brighton. In nature, we've linked up with the Festival of Nature for the It Doesn't Stop Here event in June, which was all about making sure that people understood the partnership was taking forward the good work of the Green Capital Year. And in resources, we've had 130 odd people attended a gathering on Zero Waste Bristol, which contributed to Bristol City Council's plans. And also we held the first Reuse Energy Festival in Bristol in October. In energy, we had 115 people attend an energy gathering, contributing to the City Council's climate and energy security framework, and also showcasing the exciting sustainable energy activities that are happening in the city. So we'll continue to support our members doing this work in these areas, with the existing networks where they are, but also facilitating new ones where they don't exist. And a few things we've got to look out for in the year ahead. In food, we'll be going for gold. We're looking to get the Gold Award for Sustainable Food City, working with Joy and on Food Policy Council and the Bristol Food Network. And on nature, we're planning a themed event in February, a partnership gathering such as this, all around nature, and further events throughout the year. On transport, we plan to work with the Sustainable Transport Network on an event that takes forward the Good Transport Plan to see where we are with that and following on. And finally, in waste and energy, we've had good discussions this year, which will lead us to develop a plan for those in the year ahead. So, activities in 2017. There's 2 directors on our board who are independent, elected by you, the membership. So, come February, there'll be an election for one of those positions that will be up for election, and you can all take part in that. So I really hope that you do get involved. We also have another election, the small matter of a metro mayor across the West of England devolution area. And we're hoping that we can hold a hustings, just as we did in Bristol, for the mayoral election next year, in April. I've already mentioned the Nature Partnership Gathering, which should be on the 23rd of February. Watch this space. And as Mohammed also mentioned, we have the 10th anniversary gathering, which will be in mid-2017. And as well as all this, we have the ongoing monthly mingles, quarterly gatherings, 2 more than I've mentioned here, and new ideas forums, so we can share new project ideas, knowledge and expertise among us. So, our key projects. We have 8 key projects that we'll be focusing our efforts on. The first is Better Bristol, which is a crowdfunding platform that will help our members to access funding from the crowd. We'll be providing coaching and support for that. Already we've supplied 120 hours of support to partners in Bristol and raised almost £175,000 of crowdfunding. Secondly, Skills Bridge, which is about building lasting connections between universities and our members by linking students in their skills with sustainability projects that the city is crying out for, with mutual benefits. And we'll be hearing more shortly from project partners on the Skills Bridge. Thirdly, we have Green and Black Ambassadors. This is a project which is all about promoting diversity, inclusion and leadership in Bristol, by promoting links between the black and minority ethnic and sustainability communities. And it's a real opportunity for us in the partnership and others to widen the conversation. And we'll be also hearing more about this shortly from Green and Black Ambassadors themselves. So, another key project for us is air quality. This is really, really big at the moment in Britain. You may have heard that the government lost a case at the Supreme Court earlier this year. But we'll be helping to stimulate debate in Bristol about this critical issue, and a critical issue for environment as well as inequality and health in Bristol as well. And Bristol and Sustainable Development Goals. I'm not sure if everyone would have heard of them, but the Sustainable Development Goals were launched last year with the UN. They're a series of globally agreed challenges that we all countries of the world need to meet. And we'll be promoting city-level action on this in Bristol, working with alliance of partner organisations in the city, and providing leadership both in the city, nationally, and globally. Last but not least, we have regional planning devolution. Our intention is to help shape these 2 critical processes for the future of our region and our city. We'll be looking at the regional development plans for the next 20 years, and how we want to see devolution develop in the future to make sure that our region is a beacon for sustainability within the UK. I already mentioned the Metro Mayor sustainability hustings ahead of the 5th of May election next year as well. Finally, and certainly not least, Urban ID, which is a universities-led project, which is all about understanding the barriers to the major change we need to see to address the challenges of urban living. And the partnership is leading on a theme within this around zero carbon. Now, I put these two on the last slide together because today these two projects come together in our second session, which is all about discussing plans for regional development, which is also an issue of interest to the researchers for the Urban ID project who are here today. Your input on both these projects is really, really invaluable, so I hope you'll be able to get involved. And you'll probably see people walking around with Urban ID stickers on. If you do, track them down and ask them what the project's all about. Now, I want to introduce speakers for two of our projects. Firstly, we're going to hear about Skills Bridge, and for that we have Chris from the University of Bristol and Jim from the University of West of England.
Thank you very much, Ian. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jim Longhurst from UWE. With me, I have
Chris. Hello.
What we have been doing is a really exciting project that formally came to an end when our funding came to an end just a month or two ago. And we'd like to take the opportunity to acknowledge the Higher Education Funding Council for England that has supported this project. And the universities together now take this project on. But this project, Green Capital Student Capital, is all about our students changing the mindset of the city about what students can do. We, the two universities, have something in the region of 50,000 students in the city. So we have a big impact on the city. Sometimes our students are not always the best neighbours, but they can be an amazing force for change. And what we want to do is to demonstrate that they are a force for change. Now, as universities, we want to make our students as sustainability literate as we possibly can, because our students are the biggest sustainability impact we have. If we get it right, it's a positive impact for all of us. If we get it wrong, it's negative for all of us, including our students. So we wanted to support our students, and this project was one way in which Chris and I, working together, two universities and the students' unions in each of the institutions, doing that which is uncommon in higher education, actually working together and doing much better because we were together. I shall hand over to Chris.
I'm now going to say a bit about what we did, and then Jim's going to come in and talk about Skills Bridge, which is the vehicle through which we're going to be taking it forward, and you've seen highlighted as a key project for the partnership. The challenge that we set ourselves was that 10% of the population of this city are students at one or other university. And the first thing is we all problematise them. They park their cars everywhere, they generate more rubbish than most other parts of the city, they alter our nighttime economy, they push rents up, they do nothing positive that people say about students. And even if you get people being positive about students, they tend to say, oh yeah, but what's the point of engaging with them because they're only here for 3 years? Well, the first thing is that our data shows a very high percentage of students stay. I won't ask you to do it now, but there's a lot of people in this room who were students at one or other of these our two universities. People stay. So if we keep them young, we keep them in the family of sustainability. But secondly, if you had the email addresses, and an awful lot of algorithmic detail about their interests of any other 10% of the population, we'd be falling over ourselves to access that data. There isn't a lot we don't know about our students. We can't hand over our data set, but we can work with you to access those data sets to find the students who connect to what you're doing. So our aim was, let's get that 10% engaged, because it's always 10%, even if it changes from year to year. So the catalyst was Green Capital. We might have got to doing it anyway, but the key catalyst was Green Capital. HEFCE, who are based just on the edge of Bristol, next to their campus, gave us a show them what, between us all, we could do. And this isn't just the two universities or student unions, it's all of us. Because what we did, we couldn't have done without the Green Capital Partnership, and without loads of organisations represented in the room today, having the guts to take part in the project. We go to other cities, and the first thing we discover is that other cities say, you've got a what? And we explain the Green Capital Partnership thing, no, it's not possible. And you have to get people over the idea that there is this amazing organisation. Most cities don't have it, and so they don't have a clue how to start to engage. We started with Hefke saying, prove it can be done, and here's some money to prove it, and this amazing partnership to work with. So it's both the universities, both students' unions, and the amazing power of the partnership and the city council and the mayor. And the challenge was, can we mobilise our students to deliver 100,000 hours of student action in 1 year in this city for sustainability? It might be internships, it might be volunteering, it might be placements, whatever it is, it counts. We're going to be completely open about this, we're not going to be highly structured, we're going to find our way to deliver whatever people want delivered. And we were doing it with the public sector, the private sector, NGOs, voluntary groups, community groups, anybody who'd work with us. Some were big projects, some were little projects. And the promise was, well, we're going to do it for a year, and then we're going to try and find a way to keep on doing it. And that's what Skills Bridge is about, to keep on doing it. So what did we deliver? Over 8,000 students took part. They delivered 126,000 hours of volunteering. That's 74 person years of work in 1 year. And using the way you can convert hours of work into figures, that's £1.1 million worth of input. And Deloitte are now looking at what we did and are saying, well, actually, it's far, far more than that. You just don't really know how to calculate economic value of what your students do. But never mind the money and the big accounting. What it did was to change our students. It was disproportionately engaged in my international students, and they were coming back and saying, I think I understand more about England now. I've got a sense of what England's about. And we had students saying, I feel I belong to Bristol now, because they were able to engage. And we had the community saying positive things. And if you look at that quote on the bottom right-hand corner, saying, it's not just that we had a great time working with the students, but actually, around where we live, people don't go to university, they don't get engaged with the universities. And this was our first chance to engage and to discover you're not, full of dragons. So it did have an impact. It was based on saying, students don't sign up for hair shirts. Nobody does. We've got to make this fun, we've got to give people ownership, we've got to celebrate what they're doing and nudge them into doing a bit more. And we used this from an open innovation approach in which we said, any idea you come up with, we'll support it. There was some finger crossing at times. But whatever you as students, they're the future, they see the world differently from us. Whatever they came up with, we were going to support somehow or other. We didn't very often have to apologise.
No.
We did say that they're full of good ideas. We accepted that sometimes things will fail. And that relationships have a natural life cycle. One of the barriers for universities working with community groups is they're quite resource intensive. And you set them up and then somebody moves on and the thing collapses. You think, well, why did I bother? We accepted that everything has a natural cycle. And so individual projects will come and grow and then disappear. And that's not what matters. That will happen, that's normal. It's not failure, it's normal. And what matters is that we keep the big relationship going so that overall we steam ahead with this. And they did all sorts of things. They raised the little things you'd expect. They raised money, and they did conservation work, and they did education work, and they helped in businesses. But they also came up with new projects. Like Metaversity, which I can't tell you what that is in questions if you want. I don't have time to say it now. And they worked with in ways you wouldn't expect. For example, NGOs. Working with NGOs. We just put out a call through the partnership to say if there are any organisations in the city that could do the new business plan. And you can imagine, 44 immediately said, oh, we could do the new business plan. Business plans are a nightmare for us all to find time to produce. We had postgraduate students who were writing hypothetical business plans. they learn huge amounts that they wouldn't have learned from theoretical studies. So that's what we've been doing. Now Jim's going to talk about how we hope to work together with you to take it forward.
Thank you, Chris. Just this slide is about recognising that we wanted to reward our students as well. Some of them put in phenomenal amounts of effort and energy and time, and we recognise that with the Changemaker Awards. And some of you may have seen these awards at the Partnership Mingles last year and earlier this year, and we're carrying those on into 2017 as well, because we have fabulous commitment from our students. And what was really important, you might have seen on the earlier slide that the number 96, that was 96% of all the students that participated in this reported they had at least a positive experience, and in most cases a really exceptional experience. It changed them as well as the contribution they made to the city. So, and we were delighted earlier this year when the two universities went to an awards ceremony, and our project was recognised as the student engagement project in the annual Green Gown Awards. And amazingly, the two universities, you might want to laugh at this point, we will now be representing the United Kingdom in the International Green Gown Awards.
Think Eurovision.
Yeah, so we're not quite sure what we've let ourselves in for, but anyhow, that is really testament to the way in which the project has been conceived and executed by students and by you as our partners. It's been a pleasure to organise. And I think the point that really brought home to us how transformational this project had been was when we took the very bold decision to ask our harshest critics, the students, to actually evaluate the project. And we asked the NUS, the National Union of Students, to set up an evaluation. They trained students who then interrogated, I think is the right word, Chris. We sat over 3 days with student teams, really cross-examining us about motivation, about input, about outcome, about change. And at the end of it, the students' unions who had comprised the teams evaluating us gave us an incredibly positive evaluation. It, in their words, was great for the students, great for the city, and great for the collaboration between the two universities. Now on to SkillsBridge. I'm conscious we're pushing our luck on time. But could I just ask the SkillsBridge team to stand up? There are people here who are now standing up, who I want you to talk to. They have a little badge with that logo at the bottom that you can see saying SkillsBridge. They've got a table at the back. This is in the more informal parts over coffee. Please go and interrogate these individuals and find out how you can take advantage of the enormous resource that two universities bring to the city. Thank you, Jamie. You can sit down now. What we have is the continuation of this project. We have the 50,000 students in the city who will continue to be at your disposal. Use the SkillsBridge portal to put your ideas, your needs, your requirements into that mechanism. And we, the two universities, using our own resources, will find ways of connecting our students to help you deliver your goals. It helps our students become the sustainability literate student of tomorrow, or graduate of tomorrow, and it helps our city become much better for all of us. We have got some enormously successful projects that the website, the SkillsBridge portal, demonstrates, working, for example, in engaged learning with Noel West in a community partnership, or architecture students work, and others in the built environment working on hands-on Bristol. These are just to give you some ideas of the sorts of things. There are dozens, if not hundreds, of projects that our students have become involved in. We are there to help you access that resource, and you can do that through these addresses. You'll be able to pick up cards from the table at the back that will enable you to contact our colleagues. This is not the only way you can connect with the university, but it will probably be the most effective way for sustainability projects. So I encourage you to make those connections.
Right. I'm now going to wrap up and to think about what we've learned from this and what we take forward. We found that when we work in a big relationship, both universities and both student unions with the whole of Green Capital Partnership, lots of little discrete relationships, we've also found that students are really useful. Not just as sort of character, but they bring something to relationships. When Jim and I turn up, they go, oh, expert. Not that I am an expert, but, you know, there's a bit of a, oh, you got, you know. Students don't have that baggage. They can work with anybody and not appear threatening. So we've had students doing amazing different things. One of the things the project's done is to taught us something about our problems. And that's a problem for all of us in the room. Can we, if you offer somebody students, they tend to say, well, they can be a steward. Or, oh, we need some legwork on a bit of conservation work, they can come and chop down trees. And we think of them as young people without skills, without ideas, without expertise. They're amazingly innovative, they're amazingly creative. And actually the problem is not with them, but with us. And what we envisage students as doing. And so the challenge for us is, can we give students a space to lead us? Now, very briefly, does anybody recognise any of the people in that set of slides? There are some people who I suspect do. Anybody recognise anybody? Go on the right. Guy Gibson, thank you. Blokes in the middle are a random assembly of Spitfire pilots. They were the age of students when they were doing Battle of Britain. Anyone think, oh yeah, but that's just high energy, high adrenaline stuff. That's why Guy Gibson's there. Guy Gibson, when he was appointed to assemble and lead the Dambusters, was 23. Now, there's a danger that we say to a 23-year-old, we're really a volunteer, and would you like to do a wee bit of stewarding for us? Okay? There's something that's happened to us, but we see young people in a way that limits and narrows them. And the challenge we'd like to leave everybody with is, what actually could you ask students to do? Or what changes in the way you or your organisation think might come out of giving students the space to lead us? So that's the challenge we want to leave you with. There's lots of further information you can follow up with, all of which is probably too small for you to see, starting with the hefty site about our work, but then going through lots of other ways you can get in touch with us, and we'll all be around with the Break with Our Skills Bridge badge. What we want to do is say to you, please, the challenge is with you. Tell us what you'd like us to try and get our students to do, and we'll do our best to deliver it.
And we will ask the partnership to put these slides up on the partnership website so you can access all of this detail. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks very much to Chris and Jim there. Just say from our perspective in the partnership, we've already had, we have one active Skills Bridge project going on with a student from UE doing an evaluation of Healthy City Week, and we're planning, hopefully, to have a team from Bristol University do some work on the SDGs in Bristol as well next year. That's TBC. Anyway, next up, we have some partners to discuss the next stage of Green and Black, which is one of the real successes of 2015, in a bit more detail, and it's a project that the partnership is really proud to support. So I'm going to introduce Roger and Jules from UGMA, and Jazz and Sakia, who are Green and Black ambassadors, who you may have heard on the first UGMA show, Green and Black show this Tuesday, which set Twitter abuzz, and Listen Again is available. So I'm just going to do a bit of technical.
Good afternoon. Mate, you guys are quiet, aren't you? Thank you, as always. Pleasure to be on the stage, and on behalf of everybody at UGMA and from the community, it's great to be engaged in such a fantastic project. And interestingly, we're following the universities here. I mean, our work with the universities goes back from a small idea with someone like Bev Green and Paul San for our sustainability project where we invented the Citizen Journalist, which is that small little bit of seed funding helped us to create what we've got now. And I'm going to go on to see where that has led through our Green and Black project and now through our Green and Black ambassadors. UGMA Radio is got about 30,000 listeners. We're based just upstairs, but we support the community. We're the voice of the voiceless. We engage over 100 volunteers. Students are at the core of that as well. We've got a great project with the University of West of England. We've got great support from the University of Bristol in this project. And as I said, our social action project is what we're particularly proud of, and with Bristol Green Capital as a part of that. When we started that citizen journalism project, we didn't talk about polar bears melting on ice caps so much. We looked at the M32 corridor that many of you will be familiar. It splits our two communities in St Paul's and Easton in two. While research from the University of West of England said that rest-in traffic was one of the most polluted corridors in Western Europe. There's a school right there. There's a housing estate there. We've got friends there. We've got family there. We've got children who go to those schools. What do they think about that? What do they think about that? Opening their windows and that noise pollution. Suddenly, environmentalism meant something to them. We work with the North West Media Centre around health issues as well. Again, tackling the issue of green and sustainability. Suddenly, we're translating this into things that matter, things that really bring things to home. And as people from African descent, or from Asian descent, and from the Caribbean, we're particularly prone to that. I've been in my people from Guyana in South America, part of the Caribbean, flying over the Amazon to Brazil for the World Cup. I can see the devastation that causes. And in Barbados, it had rain for a few months as well. So we're right at the cause of that. And it's about telling those stories also from our new communities, our emerging communities from Somalia and Sudan as well, and making that environmental and sustainability agenda, taking that forward in partnership as well. I mentioned about the things that we have done, I mentioned things we're going to do. Every project, as a leader of the organisation, needs a catalyst though to take it forward. My job is to make those interventions with Joy and Vicky and Ian and Richard back as well, and beforehand with people like Gary Toppins, Zoe Sear from the city. But it needs a catalyst to take it forward and to really energise that. And I'm proud to take onto the stage that catalyst for the Green and Black Project. Welcome to the stage, Jules Davis, please.
Afternoon. I think with that rapturous applause, I don't need to do my impression of Mr. Motivator. So thank you very much. I'm going to kick straight onto it because there's a lot to say. We have a short period of time to get to it, and then actually we want to really get to the business end from our perspective, which is to introduce you to the Green and Black ambassadors who are actually taking this baton and carrying it forward. So we talked about the Green and Black project. I want to focus initially on its origins. And for us, there was a challenge. And that challenge was set around a conversation that was born out of a chat with the incumbent Mayor Marvin Rees in 2014. We simply looked at it as exclusion versus inclusion. We wanted to project ourselves forward into 10 years and look backwards and say, actually, in 2015, we didn't miss a trick, we didn't miss an opportunity. What can we do to ensure that that doesn't happen? So that was a challenge, and it was about creating a credible platform for meaningful and tangible, and very importantly, accountable inclusion. And that was what we wanted to achieve. And so the Green and Black was born, and actually this chat took place over a fair trade cup of coffee. And so we wanted to trade fair with grassroots communities. And it was a simple case of why can't you be green and be black?
Ujima 98 FM, the real sound of Bristol.
I'm Savita Kassadam, Head of Education and Engagement for Bristol 2015. So the Treasury has said that central government will give Bristol £7 million for green capital actions. So there was three things that were really about inward investment. So kind of global summits, a clean technology award, and an international festival of clean technology. And then there was a few that were a bit more, I think, people-based. So a national education program, a city or regional volunteering program, and then our grassroots community challenge fund, which I think will be super important for supporting everyone's ideas in the city.
Ruth Pitter, I'm Equalities and Development Manager at VOSCA, but also a member of the Inclusion Action Group, which is part of the Bristol Green Capital activity. For me, it's about every young person in the city, every adult will be thinking about how their life can be much more sustainable. So the talk that we have at the moment that some people think is about those people over there, certain people in the city, is suddenly about everyone. So we're all thinking about what are we doing that's sustaining the life that we've got that's going to be beneficial to the generations that's coming up below us. You know, we do it because we want to and not because we have to.
Now there's a lot more of that, and that was simply captured at various meetings that were being held in advance of the Green Capital being launched in Bristol. And we wanted to really reflect and ensure that actually we went beyond the rhetoric of, you know, the lip service of we're going to do some stuff around inclusion. We wanted to turn it into something tangible. And so we took that ethnographic approach, and it worked all the way from St. Paul's to Norwest and in between to find out what people really thought in the run-up to the European Green Capital. And as you can see, just highlighted some of the stuff that was coming from grassroots communities in terms of their thoughts and feelings around the European Green Capital. And I'm just using this word European Green Capital as a catch-all phrase for the environmental movement. We were on air, so I'm going to give you an example of what we did.
This coming Monday, the 27th of October, Ujima and BCFM have teamed up for one big special live broadcast, the Big Green and Black Debate.
With the help of an expert panel and invited audience,
the special 2-hour programme will explore the potential pros and cons of Bristol being the 2015 European Green Capital.
And what it means to you, to us, and for our communities.
The Big Green and Black Debate.
And we want to hear what you think, what you know, and how you feel about Bristol being the European Green Capital.
So if you want to join the audience, email the Big Green and Black Debate at gmail.com today.
Big Green and Black Debate, Monday, October the 27th, from 1 to 3 p.m. on BCFM 93.2 and Ujima Radio 98 FM.
So we'd established the case, and we were going to actually dig a little bit deeper to find out exactly what the challenges were and how we can actually do something that would be meaningful, that would champion, that would challenge, that would provocate, that would inspire. And I can say that we crashed the party in 2015 at the launch at the Mind the Gap event. I'm sure there were many people that attended that were here. We then, in April, we did a live broadcast at the Green Youth Day at Colston Hall. That was hugely successful. And then in June, we curated an event at the Green Capital Hub on the Harbourside front, which was really about, again, having key decision makers, having a conversation with grassroots communities. We're about halfway through at this point, and having a real honest, open, and adult conversation around the European Green Capital. And based on that day's conversations, we commissioned an animator who created this large-scale mural, which gives you a bit of a flavour for the type of stuff that came out of those conversations. So there was more to the Green and Black project, believe it or not. It was organic, it was evolving, there was no template for this, and it was something that we were kind of responding to as things were progressing.
Each agrees.
Do you want to reduce food waste while saving pounds off your shopping bill?
Do you enjoy gardening or cooking?
How about becoming a radio star whilst doing your bit to save the planet?
Well, if you're 15 to 25 or over 55,
sign up for Eat Your Greens today.
And you'll get top tasty tips from renowned community chefs. Learn about plant, cook, and eat your food.
Show off your culinary skills by starring in our cookbook. And plant a time capsule to inspire future generations.
And share your recipes at our big Feastable, a celebration of Bristol food, music and culture.
That will be broadcasted live.
Eat Your Greens, an intergenerational legacy project in partnership with
the Felix Road Playground,
Growing Futures,
the European Green Capital,
and Ujima 98 FM. Eat Your Greens. Places are limited, so sign up quickly by emailing
projects@ujimaradio.com.
Eat Your Greens in the heading.
So as you can see, you know, responding organically to all of this stuff, we were doing an incredible amount of work in terms of engaging communities in different ways to have a variety of different conversations around the environmental movement. And it was this particular piece was an incredibly successful project, and there's some key outcomes up there. The one I'm particularly proud of is the fact that we had 45 young people take part in this project, and they were working with elders, and it was an intergenerational generational project, and that learning, that seed of learning continues to grow. We talked about the Big Feastable.
The Big Feastable, a spring celebration of Bristol food, music and...
I'm just going to skip through that because we're going to run out of time, but the Big Feastable was that kind of grow it, cook it, eat it, and share the learning event. And again, we had over 300 people attend a community-led event on that. We did symposiums. We had the Green and Black debates, and this is where we invited key community organisations to get together in a comfortable room to have honest, open, again, conversations, but just about directing the travel of change that we wanted to see and to take ownership of that change, recognising that actually the European Green Capital would come to an end, and we wanted to focus on legacy. So we actually held 3 symposiums, one of which we had Julian Ajiman attend, who is a social justice pioneer and innovator, and we did that in partnership with the Friends of Earth. I think I can see Mike somewhere. Give us a wave, Mike, there you are. So thank you very much. That was incredibly empowering. I also, myself, was a Do 15 ambassador. You may well have seen me on the big posters across the city. And actually, I can tell you that the change that made is a lot of my community were very pleased to see themselves being reflected in that campaign. And I received a lot of positive feedback on that. And it doesn't stop here. As we all know, it does continue. So just some quick Green and Black highlights. You may have missed these. So we had debates, we had a 7-line broadcast, the Eat the Green project, becoming the Do 15 ambassador and co-hosting that closing party, and so much more. So the big question is, what's next? Well, we all know that it doesn't stop here, and that's why I'm really pleased to introduce the next level of the Green and Black project, which is the Green and Black ambassadors. But before you give up a big round of applause to those guys, I think the sort of 5 cuss word, T word, was actually mentioned earlier. And I always wonder, if Donald Trump was green, and if he was truly green, what would he look like? And I think this would sum up the incredible sulk that is Donald Trump. A big round of applause, please, for the Green and Black ambassadors.
Hello everyone, my name is Zakia Mackenzie. This is Jasmine here. We're just going to get our slides up. We've got them up, they're just not showing. I think we'll start telling you about ourselves. So I am Zakia, Green and Black Ambassador. I am also, well, we're both community researchers at Upper Street. I'm also a postgrad researcher at the University of Bristol, doing a degree in Sustainable Futures. It's the degree that was called Environment, Energy and Resilience. It's now been renamed Sustainable Futures. So very much in line with the mandate here. And
I'm Jazz, and I come from a background of being at UE, being an Ujima presenter, and also doing research as well with Zakia with Upper Street, who you might have heard of. We're doing research into wellbeing at the moment. So this is kind of an interesting project to come into because it ties in very well to some of our other work. But currently we are working with Bristol Green Capital Partnership, with the Cabot Institute, and also with Ujima Radio. So we're all working together on this as one big team.
These are the 3 partners on the project. And so we've fostered very good relationships so far. So what's happened so far? The project started at the beginning of October for us. The ambassadorship started at the beginning of October. And so far we've had a lot of mentoring and training. So we have mentored with Rich Pankhurst, who is in the back of the room. He's the director of the Cabot Institute, so we got a lot of climate science training from him, the very scientific, heavy stuff. We also would like to thank Vicky especially and Ian from the Bristol Green Capital Partnership, who have let us know what's happening in Bristol, really kind of giving us the context here in Bristol, and also for the Ujima guys, who are our in-house guys, but they know what's happening in the BAME communities here. We've also had training from other people at the University of Bristol, Helen Manchester, and Helen works in community projects and community media, so again, very much in line with what we want to do. So as Jazz and I said, we are community researchers and also activists, and this project is very close to us because apart from all of that, we are green. We're greenies, and we say that very proudly, and we don't feel excluded. We don't feel we are not a part of the discussion, but we are aware that people from our backgrounds do. They probably, a lot of them don't know there is a green scene, might not understand it. So we are here to change that, or to be the bridge, be a bridge in between that. So our first project that we're very excited about is Photo Voice.
So we're going to be doing a project working intergenerationally with lots of different ages. And as we said, this is also a research position, so we're going to be using this as research. We're going to be getting people to take pictures of what things mean really to them, what things look like sustainability to them. We're going to get them to discuss those pictures, and those discussions are going to be recorded and used as research, and the end product will be an exhibition with the audio as well. So hopefully that information will help people unpick that term visually instead of having to deal with the jargon that not everyone quite understands.
So Photo Voice is a method that's quite often used in grassroots organizations, people researching communities, because it is a way of, as Jazz said, busting the jargon visually and not having to deal with these very heavy terms: climate change, sustainability, green. What we will do is we're going to have camera, we'll take pictures, so people take pictures of these terms, and then we'll have focus groups to explain what they are. In this way, we find out from people straight up what is it that they feel these terms mean, and what in their community represents this to them. And we're sure we're going to have some positive things and some negative things, but in the same way, that's exactly what we want. We want to know what works, what people like, what do they connect with, what doesn't work, what can we change, and how can we find solutions to problems.
We'll also be doing a project that's going to come towards the end of this phase. So this Green and Black Ambassadors project is working in phases. This first phase is almost like a pilot. It's never been done by anyone before, so we're kind of testing the waters to see if we can make a difference. Hopefully we will. I'm sure we will.
We will. We definitely will.
Another part of the project, though, is tea with the elders. So we're going to get the elders from the BAME communities and just get them to have a chat over a really comfortable setting and record those conversations in lots of different multimedia ways, and just get them to disseminate what happened when they were younger and what's happening now, maybe their insight, because they must have a lot of wisdom that we need to tap into and that a lot of people don't. So hopefully we're going to do that through tea with the elders.
And one of the purposes that we come is that people from BAME communities probably are doing things that are sustainable, probably are doing things that are green. They're just not called that. They're just not titled as such. So with Photo Voice and with the event with the elders, we want to bring these things out, hear what people are doing, and then we can say, hey, you know that you're a part of this discussion because this is green, this is sustainable, your family has been doing it for generations, you've been green for generations.
Towards the end of the project, so this will go on until about March, this phase, we're going to have a series of talks, discussions, events, and workshops, and the exhibition from the Photo Voice project that will be included. We're going to call it Mind the Gap. The name might change. But yeah, we want people to get involved in that. There'll be nature walks, there'll be a Bristol slow roll. So recently in Detroit, a lot of people came together on their bikes and cycled through Detroit. We want that to happen in Bristol, but through all of the communities, because there is currently critical mass that happens, but it's through the centre of town. So we want to bring that into people's communities where they feel comfortable to do that as well. And yeah, panel discussions and debates. And as we're here today, if there's any kind of thing that you're hearing that you think, oh, I really want to get involved in that, or I can help out, just give us a shout and say hi. So we want people to get involved.
The other project that we have that has already begun is the Green and Black radio show. And we actually forgot. The first thing we should have done was ask you to please take your phones out, go on Twitter now, and follow us. we are on Twitter at Ujima Green Black, so that's UJIMA Green Black, Ujima Green Black. And so Green and Black episode 1 radio show has come out on Tuesday. We are on air the last Tuesday of every month at 12 to 2 p.m. But don't worry if you cannot hear it on radio. It is on our SoundCloud page. We do have a soundcloud.com/Ujima Green and Black Radio. It's a 2-hour radio program. And again, a lot of what we discussed in this week's program was the introduction, but also you'll hear a lot more of our personal views, Jazz and I's personal views in coming into this project as people who consider ourselves green, but also understanding the communities that we come from. And as Ian said, it did set Twitter alight a bit. We had people saying, okay, so just green then, why do we need the black part? We definitely, there were some conversations there, and people did come around at the end and say, actually, I understand now, really good idea. And the mayor has also been communicating with us through Twitter also. So if you are on Twitter, please follow us, please join us in the discussion, because we definitely want this to be a discussion.
And as we said, everything is a research. So that radio show is also freelance research, and us recording other bits of research we're doing, and our conversations being research and speaking to people that are engaging with us on the radio. All research. And there are also a lot more projects that we could have taken on, a lot more opportunities. But as we said, this is the first phase. It goes on until March. So we're going to have to be banking lots of ideas. But if anyone, like I said, has ideas, please come to us, because we're not going to forget any of them or ignore them. We want to keep those ideas there and use them in the future.
Yes, we've had a lot of interest across the board. We've had lots of meetings and requests for meetings. But at this point now, we're going to actually stick to our remit, since we have figured out a research plan. We will be sticking with it. But we do welcome people to please get in contact with us. We'll share our contact details later. If there's any of the projects that we spoke about that you would like to get involved with, please let us know. One of the things that we will be doing is connecting existing networks. So there are a lot of movements in Bristol. There are a lot of social there's a lot of social action happening in Bristol, oftentimes in isolation of each other. So what we are going to do with Green and Black, which we've already started to do actually, is to bring a lot of these community groups, small businesses, voluntary groups together when we see that they're working similarly on the issues of green issues or sustainability issues. So we've started that. So again, we do welcome people to let us know what you are doing, and we'll see who we know and connect you to. So what can you expect? Again, we'll be asking some very hard questions. We have to ask some very hard questions to people in high places, and we do also expect to get questions from people that can be a bit unsettling, but at the same time, we do believe that these questions have to be answered for the green agenda to be inclusive, to be open, and for people to feel welcome in this space.
And yeah, those are really, there are a lot of things where people tend to shy away from talking about, because it's such a big thing to take on and think about. It does make people uncomfortable, but that's why we're here. We want to encourage people to talk about things that make them feel uncomfortable, and understand maybe why that's making them feel uncomfortable, and understand that the green agenda and the sustainable arenas that everybody needs to make sure it's all inclusive of all communities as well.
So I think we must end now. So we'll again just ask you to please get in contact with us if there's anything you would like to find out more about. And we're always on Twitter, so that's the best place to speak with us. But here are our other connections to get in contact with us. Also on the Ujima Twitter page too. We'll be at a green mingle later where you can grab us and have a conversation. And here are our email addresses. Thank you very much.
I feel like a proud uncle seeing those. They're recently new and making their appearance in front of you. So there we have it. Our desire is to be more than just a radio station. Our desire is to be that catalyst I spoke about through Jules and now through Zakia and Jazz. And that's helped us become an award-winning radio station, but also that's just more than a title. It means that our partnership work. It means that we're able with the Photo Voice project that's there, we're able to work with the Arts Council England and get further support and engage more people in the community as it goes. And that comes then from that seed of an idea. We don't know how this is going to work. We're social entrepreneurs. but we know that we are the catalyst of change, and we work those through in that action research model. Finally, I was delighted on Tuesday to present a very special program called Soul Music Change is going to come for the first time as a community radio station working with BBC Radio 4. With Sam Cook's Change is going to come, and lots of community members. Two of those community members, Roy Hackett and Peters Golden, come from farming backgrounds, from rural background. Roy was a farmer. And as Jules will testify, when we interview like Peaches and who's a High Sheriff, Roy Hackett, a Bristol bus boycott member, about that background, about their farming background and the sustainability and growing their own, eat your greens and stuff. You know what they tell us? Nobody ever asked us. You now have no excuse. You have Zakia and you have Jazz. Thank you very much.